This series is generously sponsored by the Saka family and as well by Ayelet and Avram Foreman. We're on the 11th bracha, the bracha of Hashiva, Shofteinu Kevarishona. As we've transitioned to our collective and national bakasha, we're longing not only for our individual needs, but what we want and need collectively. First, kibbutz galios to come together, and then the restoration of a system and of a sense of justice. Hashiva, Shofteinu Kevarishona. We spoke about one of the kavanas, Shoftim v'shotrim titein l'cha b'chol sha'arecha, in addition to longing for the constitution, the reconstitution of the Sanhedrin, but also Shoftim v'shotrim, as the Balei Machshava, the Balei Musar say, b'chol sha'arecha, each and every one of us need judgment and need policemen. We need to self-regulate at the sha'arim, at all the entrances, our eyes, our ears, all the senses with which we interact the world. So the Tefillah, Hashiva, Shofteinu Kevarishona, may we have the will and the way to be able to regulate ourselves with good sense of judgment. Shoftim v'shotrim, we should all have b'chol sha'arecha in our lives. We last left off, what is v'hasar mimenu yagon v'anacha? Once we defined what's the difference between Shofteinu and Yoatzeinu, Kevarishona and Kevatchila. But after we ask for the restoration of our judges, of judgment, of Sanhedrin, of leadership with vision, then v'hasar mimenu yagon v'anacha, it'll be removed from us. So we mentioned the Kunshas Avodas HaTefillah says Yagon is daga shebalev. Yagon is the anxiety, the worry, the fear that fills the heart when a person is going through a hard time. Anacha, like the groan, like the krechts, like the moan, anacha is the hardship itself, the illness, the loneliness, the fear, the poverty, the war. It's the anacha. So Hasar Mimenu, Kodesh Baruch Hu will remove from us both the Yagon and Anacha. But how? How will He do that? Simply by having Shoftim, Yoatzim, by restoring judges and justice. We no longer will have challenges and hardship. So Rabbeinu Yonah, in his commentary on Mesechus Berachos, points out, he says, people are mistaken in our gullus. They think that if we're suffering, if we're struggling, if we're going through a hard time, it means Hashem has forsaken us. It means Hashem is ignoring us. It means Hashem is withdrawn from us. And whatever hardship, whatever challenge, whatever suffering has ensued, it is because we no longer are worthy of His providence. We're simply exposed to and vulnerable to the elements. And that's the pshat, v'hasar mimenu yagon v'anacha, the yagon and anacha of a gullus, from people who make that mistake and think that in this state of exile, without a Beis HaMikdash, Hashem doesn't love us, He doesn't care about us, He's not watching over us. That's a yagon v'anacha. But when we restore Hashiva, Shofteinu and Yoatzeinu, when we'll have, as we daven, leaders who have vision, who can see clearly, who can understand and inspire us to appreciate, to surrender and to submit to Hashem that He has His ways. When we have leaders, as we saw from the Psikta Rabbasi, Shoftim like David and Shlomo, Yoatzim like Moshe and Aaron, leaders who give us the confidence and the faith that nothing that happens to us is random or chance. Everything Hashem does by definition is good. Kol man David Rahman Latav Avid. So when we have such Shoftim and Yoatzim, when we have such leaders, such visionaries, such advisors, when we have people who can get us to see our own lives that way, then Hasar Mimenu Yagon V'anacha. It doesn't mean the challenges and the suffering are eliminated, but it means somehow we have the chizuk and the strength that despite them, to find the strength that despite them, to not give up on Hashem, to not believe He's given up on us, and therefore to not experience them with a sense of Yagon V'anacha. Yes, of course, they're challenging, they're filled with sadness, with grief, they're complicated, but V'hasar Mimenu, we ask Hashem, by having such role models, such visionaries, such individuals who can give us that confidence and that faith, that they'll be able to help us appreciate that we're not victims of chance or randomness, but everything that Hashem does is for a sense. It's a phrase, it's been credited to many different people, that pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. V'hasar mimenu yagon v'anacha is when there are Shoftim and Yoatzim who can give us a sense of perspective and context, who could build us up and give us hope, who can have us appreciate that we're still under the loving hashgacha of Hashem, then hasar mimenu yagon v'anacha, then it can be removed, it can be eliminated, even though there'll be pain. The pain is inevitable. Pain is part of what it means to be alive. but pain is inevitable. It doesn't have to necessarily go with suffering. The Yagon va'anacha, Kadosh Baruch Hu can remove if we can become worthy of having the Shoftim and the Yoatzim who will be restored. The Seder Hayom, another interpretation, tells us that for so long as we are in Galus, when we are limited in the mitzvahs and the Torah that we can do, because we're preoccupied. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers in the south and the north are fighting a war, and they can't live the Torah lives that they want, that they wish, that they would, if they weren't. So the tsaros of Galus, the challenges of Galus, the resources we have to dedicate to be able to defend, to be able to secure, what we have to invest in Galus to survive Galus, comes out of and distracts from the Torah and the mitzvos that we could be doing. So we ask Hashiva Shofteinu k'varishanav yotzenu k'vatchila, and in that way eliminate the yagon and anacha of not being able to observe Torah and mitzvos the way we want. Ideally, in the fashion, with the focus, with the concentration, with the freedom that we want, because our energy, our time, our resources are dedicated to surviving, to securing, to navigating through this galus. So therefore we're unable to observe the way we want. So going along with Hashiva Shofteinu k'varishana is Hasar Mimenu Yagon v'anacha. Be able to concentrate on our davening, on our learning, be able to invest and take care of our Torah community, Hasar Mimenu, because you eliminated what has to go into security guards, what has to go into safety, what has to go into all the things that are the result of this galus that we find ourselves in. And then we continue. We ask Hashem levadecha. Hashem alone should rule over us. We'll pick up with this next time. We say you alone, as opposed to what? You alone as opposed to you and others? Of course Hashem alone. Why do we have to include that word, levadecha? We'll pick up with next time.